What's up, everybody? It's the Common Sense Investor coming at you with another video. And in this video, I want to talk about the phrase, some people did some things. Now, y'all remember when Elon Omar, I believe it was, made that comment and people freaked the fuck out. And they're like, oh, no, bitch, no way. It wasn't some people that did some things. It was Islamic jihadist extremists, and they didn't just do something. They blew up our Twin Towers, and they killed over 3,000 people. Now, some people did some things. That's kind of like how I'm feeling as I'm reading this lawsuit, all right? Now, we know the people that they say are defendants in the case, and those are the some people, and they've done some things. And Al and Mr. Aufhalter is trying to drill down and show the court and prove their allegations against Citigroup and the other defendants and what they've done. Here's the problem I'm finding. They're bringing the wrong allegations, all right? In Sections 5 and in Section 6, we're going to center down on that. They're going to talk about the Brazilian depository receipts, and I've already done a video about that, but we're going to go a little bit deeper in this one, and you're going to understand how Citigroup fucked over AMC retail investors that were holding the stock and put billions of dollars in their own pocket at the expense of AMC shareholders. I'm going to prove that. I'm going to tell you who, the what, the where, the when, and the why. But did Jordan and did Al accomplish their purpose? Let's take a look. During the relevant periods, AMC, New York Stock Exchange ticker AMC, was heavily manipulated by Citigroup. Okay? Now we now know who the somebody is and the what something is. Citigroup heavily manipulated the stock price of AMC. Now, prove it to me. When positive news was presented to shareholders, the stock would plummet unnaturally, even while the vast majority of the stock was being held by retail shareholders. I like the fact that they changed that to the vast majority of shares was held by retail. All right? Let me finish. Citigroup has allegedly used various financial instruments, including swaps, exotic options, and BDRs, Brazilian depository receipts, to short AMC on the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, and other markets. Stop. I object. That's not a true statement. I don't know who formulated this argument, but now it makes for a good story that, oh, Lord, they're hiding synthetic shares of AMC over on the Brazilian market. You got 3.1 billion shares of AMC over there on the Brazilian market. Makes for a great story. But that's not possible. That's not what's happening. And that's not how they use BDRs. Now, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth here on BDRs because there's a part that I skipped over because the video was so long. But in understanding what they did with this BDRs in Brazil, then you'll understand what crime they committed, okay? And it wasn't short selling of AMC. Now, I'm fixing to explain BDRs again as if my 6-year-old daughter would come in the room and say, Dad, can you explain to me how Brazilian depository receipts work? And I would sit her down and I say, baby, this is exactly how they work. Now, when I get done telling you how it works, you're going to see the crime, and then you're going to say, that's what they done wrong. This is how they fucked over us. You cannot give a broad statement saying that they're using BDRs to short AMC on the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, and other markets, and that's not possible. But I'll tell you what is possible. Is this. Baby, think about a Brazilian depository receipt like this. All right, let's just take depository receipt out, say Brazil. Do you know how Germany has its own stock market? You know how the UK has its own stock market? And India has its own stock market, and China has its own stock market. Well, Brazil has their own stock market as well, okay? Now, let's use Home Depot as an example. Home Depot trades on the American Stock Exchange, okay? So, one day, somebody decided we want to sell our shares of Home Depot on the German market. And we got 60 million shares. So they would write depository receipt showing how many shares of Home Depot they owned and the value of it and how many they wanted to sell on the German market. All right. Also, using Home Depot as an example, trading on the American Stock Exchange. It's not trading on India, but they decided, hey, let's do it. All right. So somebody says, I got 25 million shares of Home Depot that I'd like to sell on the Indian Stock Exchange. All right. So they show proof of ownership of the shares. The custodial bank holds the shares, and then they sell the shares of Home Depot on the Indian market. So now you've got shares of Home Depot that trade on the American stock market, the German stock market, and the Indian stock market. But they don't trade on the UK, China, or Brazilian stock exchange. All right. Now, one day somebody comes to Citigroup and they say, hey, we have shares of Home Depot, 50 million shares, and we'd like to sell those shares on the Brazilian stock market. Let me ask you a question. You ought to know the answer by now. What do they write? They write a Brazilian depository receipt, or a BDR. All right? And that tells them how many shares of the Home Depot they own, and what the value of the Home Depot shares will be on the Brazilian market. They write a BDR to explain all that, and then once the Citigroup has custody of the Home Depot shares, they sell the BDRs on the open market. Okay? It's that simple. Now I'm going to bring you over here to AMC's SEC filing, where they say on August 4th, 2022, AMC Entertainment Holdings declared a special dividend of one what? Depository share. For each share of Class A common stock, par value 1 cent per share, the company outstanding at the close of business on August 15, 2022. Each AMC preferred equity unit represents an interest in 1/100th of a share of the company's Series A convertible preferred stock. All right, and one more point right here. Each AMC preferred equity unit represents an interest in 1/100th of a share of a preferred stock and will be evidenced by what? A depository receipt. What happens is AMC said they wanted to create 513 million ape shares, and they were going to give it as a special dividend to the AMC Class A holders. And it's going to be evidenced, or they're going to deposit 513 million ape shares with the computer share, which is our transfer agent, and they send it to the DTCC and all the brokers. Y'all know how that works. But this is what it's called, a depository receipt. This is done in America, so therefore it would be called an American depository receipt. All right? Now let's talk about the criminality of it all. Now let's talk about AMC and where the fuckery is, okay? AMC trades on the American Stock Exchange, the New York Stock Exchange, okay? And therefore it's in blue. Now one day, somebody went to the German market and they said, hey, we own shares of AMC and we would like to sell our shares of AMC on the German market instead of the American Stock Exchange. Understand that? That's a very important detail. Is somebody owns shares of AMC on the American Stock Exchange and they go to Germany and they say, hey, we'd rather sell these AMC shares in Germany instead of the America. All right. So that's how they get a GDR. Now, somebody went to Citi and told Citigroup they own 513 million shares of AMC. So, Citigroup went to Brazil, said, hey, X has X shares of AMC. They want to sell on the Brazilian market instead of the American market. And so that Brazil says, do you have custody of the 513 million shares? Citigroup says, yes, we have custody of the shares. They write the BDR and they give the BDR value, just like they gave APE a value, they give the BDR a value, and the value in Brazil is 6. Now, where did they get the 3.1 billion shares? All right. Those are 3.1 billion BDRs, AMC BDRs. Now, remember when I showed you that APE, when APE was created, it was considered an ADR, okay, an American Depository Receipt. All right. So now when they create shares over in the Brazilian market or the German market or the Indian market or wherever, they're called Brazilian Depository Receipts or BDRs, or German Depository Receipts, GDRs, India Depository Receipts, IDR, okay? So, the Brazilian BDRs are just like and are treated just like AMC APE shares were, okay? Here's what I mean. Now follow me, this is where the money's at, all right? When AMC APE was created, the AMC ADRs, it had a value of 1/100th. So they took 10 million shares of AMC preferred equity unit and they deposited it with the computer share to be distributed, all right? 10 million preferred equity shares, and each equity share was worth 100 units. That means they had access to sell 1 billion APE shares, or 1 billion AMC ADRs. All right, they had 1 billion AMC APE ADRs. Over in Brazil, same thing. You have 513 million shares of AMC. Now, AMC BDRs, and they've been given a value of 6. That means 513 million times 6 gives you a float of AMC BDRs of 3.1 billion. All right, that's where that number comes from. They deposited 513 million shares with Citigroup, and Citigroup wrote it, and it became an AMC BDR with a value of 6, which means they could sell 3.1 billion AMC BDRs on the Brazilian market. Okay? So now you got 3.1 billion shares of AMC BDRs that Citigroup sold, okay, and got money for. Now let's go back to the lawsuit. When positive news was presented to shareholders, the stock would plummet unnaturally, even while the vast majority of stocks were being held by retail shareholders. Citigroup has allegedly used various financial instruments, including swaps, exotic options, and BDRs, to short AMC on the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, and other markets. Citigroup reportedly holds millions of AMC shares and convertible notes, potentially to close out their swap and short positions. Again, that's a presumption, potentially to do this. They might not be holding that for that. The decision for Citigroup to close these positions could affect AMC share price significantly. Yes, it would rise to the moon if they closed it out. Noticing the irregularities in trading and blatant market manipulation, AMC investors became concerned and reached out to the company AMC CEO Aaron, SEC, and federal law enforcement entities, but no action was taken. Stop. Because you can't prove they used BDRs to short AMC because you can't use a foreign stock such as a BDR to short underlying stock on the American Stock Exchange. It doesn't work that way. But the allegation you need to bring was Citigroup claimed to hold 513 million shares of AMC stock and they didn't have it, and they sold 3.1 billion shares of AMC Brazilian depository receipts and profited over $30 billion. That's the allegation that you can prove. That they did not have the shares to deposit. They never had custody of 513 million shares. We complained to the CEO, Adam Aaron, SEC, and the federal law enforcement entities, and they didn't take any action on the fact that Citigroup was able to manufacture 513 million phantom shares of AMC to cover 3.1 billion shares of AMC BDRs. All right? So, again, BDRs to short AMC. You can't prove that. You could prove what I just showed you, though. Citigroup allegedly used unsponsored Brazilian depository receipts issued without the explicit consent and cooperation of AMC and its shareholders. Stop. Now, I talked about this before, and the invisible Corax wanted to try to correct me and tell me they don't need shareholder approval. You need shareholder approval if you're going to increase the float, and if you're saying that you own 513 million shares, well, what the fuck is everybody else holding? So, if you were going to make the Brazilian depository receipts, you needed AMC shareholders to increase the float, which they could not have done for Citigroup to legally do what they did. So there you go, people. Let's see. Without the explicit consent of AMC, they don't. Unsponsored BDR doesn't need the consent of the shareholders. You only need consent of shareholders if you're going to increase the float, and that's what they were saying they were doing. They were creating 513 million shares of AMC. All right. See how that works? See how that argument wins? And see how, well, they're using this to short. Bullshit, you don't know that. But you know they received over $30 billion for sale of AMC BDRs that they didn't have shares to back it up. Now, so far, then they're going to get into Citadel. And we'll cover Citadel at a later time. So, with that, I hope this helps you understand this argument. Like I told y'all, it reads real good, like a really good story, like a John Grisham novel. But they're not proving shit. All right? And what they can prove, they passed over. Such as $30 billion that Citigroup made from selling shit that they didn't have. So with that, love y'all, be blessed, and I'll see you in the next video.